Hello, welcome to Staring Down the Storm, Autism Advocacy in America. I'm your host, Tabitha Ziegler. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. We've got Ed Rowe again from CIP. As you can see, we've got new outfits. We had to come back, and we found a smaller room. So hopefully, you guys can hear us a little bit more clearly. We're super comfy. What are you wearing today?
I'm just wearing a shirt from my kids' swim team.
BHSN, swimming and diving.
I am the swim dad. That's right. Yeah.
Ah, the swim dad.
I'm the official swim parent for the boys' team. So
very good.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep. He's going into his senior year. So,
nice.
And talking about what we were before is that's where he found his people. You know what I mean? Like, we were always worried about him. My son's 17. He's on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. He was diagnosed in second grade, and never really kept friends very well.
Yeah.
Made some friends at the new school he transferred to in middle school. Mm-hmm. Followed them, actually, because his middle school, he was essentially bullied out of his elementary school because of his autism, and kids thought it would be funny to pick on him because he'd get upset, and the reaction he'd give would be hilarious for them,
right.
Apparently. So, and there were a couple of his teachers who had a lot of trouble keeping that reined in the classroom. So, after fifth grade, we moved him down to Bloomington here to the project school, which, if I can give a quick shout out, what a great place.
Yeah.
Just a great place. They taught him how to enjoy learning again. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was because they didn't do what some of his other teachers did, which is, oh, you're arguing with me or you're a problem in class, go to your resource teacher. I don't want to handle this right now. Get out of the class. And so instead of pushing him out of the class, they pulled him in. And, if he ever had any issues, there was which was really cool, they had a social, like a social coordinator. I don't know what her title was, but she would work with students, especially special ed students, on like conflict resolution and social skills and all kinds of stuff like that, which, boy, that little extra bit of help really went a long way. And it was to the point where one time he got in trouble he was out on the playground and he was playing a game with another student. This is after he moved to the project school, and something happened in the game where the student started laughing, and my son, of course, immediately, going on his previous experience at his last school before that, thought he was being made fun of.
Sure.
So he walked up and punched the kid like in the arm or something like that, and got in trouble for it. But rather than suspending him or whatever crap they would do at his old school, the social liaison had them both sit down and sort of mediate the discussion and everything. And by the end of it, talk about a difference, by the end of it, my son had realized that he was a friend, that he wasn't making fun. He was laughing he was laughing because of what was happening in the game. And that was kind of a revelation for him, like, oh, people weren't laughing at me, they were laughing with me. We were having fun together, and he apologized for hitting him, and it was a misunderstanding. And then the other boy just told, they're sixth graders at this point. The other boy told him, I get upset sometimes too when I do stupid things like that. So don't even worry about it. I mean, that's the kind of emotional maturity that they promoted at that school. So that was a space that he felt safe in, and he was able to learn again. And he actually trusted his teachers, and he liked his peers, and he decided when it was time for high school that he wanted to continue in Bloomington, and he went to Bloomington North along with a bunch of his friends. And that's also, he wanted to make sure to join the swim team there because he's been swimming since third or fourth grade. That's sort of, he likes the pool, he likes swimming. And the people there that are on his team, those have become his core group of friends. So he has 7 or 8 friends from the team that he's close with. And those have been his people all through high school, and he feels included, and he feels heard, and his coaches love him, and he loves the coaches, and it's been a very positive experience. We've really enjoyed how the team has made him sort of blossom a little bit. And then, of course, he should probably be here at some point this morning. He comes every day to CIP here because he goes to school here in Bloomington. It's the summer now, so he's volunteering at the Children's Museum that's right down the street from us here to get some more experience in the workplace, which is also shout out to those folks too, I guess. We have a children's science museum here in town called Wonder Lab. The volunteer coordinator there does a really great job. He's worked with a number of our students here at CIP who are looking for internships and work experience, especially because a number of our students really enjoy animals, they enjoy science, they enjoy working with kids, stuff like that.
Right.
And my son wants to go into paleontology, geology, things like that. He also, and biology as well. He loves animals, animal science, stuff like that. So we got him this volunteer opportunity there, and the volunteer coordinator, his name is Luke, and he's a great guy. He was telling me a few weeks ago that one of the things they do there with our students, he's doing it with my son as well, is to help practice their social skills and give them more experience speaking to multiple people in the workplace. He makes sure to have, rather than just giving instruction directly to the student, to the volunteer, he makes sure that he asks other supervisors on the floor to interact with them at different times, just so they get more experience and more used to speaking to multiple coworkers at once. So I mean, just sort of those small little thoughtful things that, and he doesn't talk a lot about the what he's doing there. I know it's a lot of cleaning exhibits and like resetting them when kids come through and stuff like that. But I have noticed recently, we had like my niece who's 3 came over this past weekend for the holiday, and I noticed he was talking to her very differently than he usually does. Like, now, are you sure you want to do that? Or, hey, make sure you eat all your food. He's like actually comfortable talking to her, which usually he doesn't. He's not great at talking to little kids, but I'm kind of feeling, although I doubt he'd admit it, that his experience working with smaller kids at Wonder Lab is helping him to sort of understand how to communicate with different ages of people, which is really cool. So he's been doing that this summer, and then he comes and hangs out here, gets some lunch, and then he goes to his swim practice in the afternoon. So
Nice.
He's always here. Everyone in our center knows him. I think him being part of our center, kind of like as an unofficial student coming in, like, because he's been taking classes at IU.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been taking one of them. The high school here, Bloomington North and South, they participate in an IU open classroom program because they're here such close proximity to the university, where students who are juniors and seniors who are in good standing with their credits and their grades and everything can leave campus for part of the day, go take a class on campus at IU. So he did that both semesters this past year, and he absolutely loved it. It's also made him a lot more comfortable thinking about what he's going to do after high school. So he's been asking to go on more college visits, and he's really seriously thinking about it. So, I mean, being here with me, being off campus and getting to explore things on his own more, it's really helped him open up to a lot of new experiences. So it's been really great seeing him kind of evolve. He's driving now, and he has his license, and my parents were nice enough to give us one of their extra cars that they never drove anywhere. So now he has a car that has 100,000 fewer miles than mine.
Wow.
It's really nice, and he gets to drive it down here every single day and drives around town and everything. So he's loving this independence.
That's great.
Yeah. So
wow, talk about inclusion. I mean, I think I've got a list of other places and people that I need to talk to now.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people to learn a few things from that. But
seems like it.
Beauty of Bloomington. This is a town that really accepts people for who they are. So when we have students who come in and, say, I'm autistic and I'd like to learn a job. Well, the folks at Wonder Lab are going to say, yeah, you like doing this? Let's teach you how. Let's give you the skills. And let's teach you how to use our volunteer website and all kinds of stuff like that. And some of the folks who have come through there in the past few years from our program have gotten internships there as well. We had a student last year who had an internship there, and 1 or 2 more who might have one this year working with animals and stuff like that. So not only are they getting 10, 15 hours of good work experience a week, but they're also getting some cash for it. Which is, and that's great for us here in the program and for our students, because once they start having a paying job, then we get to work with them on that life skill as well.
Yeah, and speaking about, I mean, you guys do have a lot of cool things down here. I have to say, see, I was a Indiana State alum. I didn't make it down here that often. Bloomington seemed a little far. And really, I wasn't even at Purdue that often either, to be honest. I had friends of mine that were in Indianapolis.
Bloomington's better.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. But no, it seems like there's a lot of cool things down here, because I took my children and so I have a cousin that she has a child that has autism.
Yes.
And so we thought it'd be a good idea to take all the kids who like animals to the large feline rescue.
Yes.
And that's not too far from here either.
Cool place. I've been there once before.
Yeah. I know we spoke about that too. So, shout out to them too. We'll include all the links to this stuff in the comment section,
Yeah.
but there does seem to be a real drive in the Bloomington area for people that are interested in education and, trying to be really inclusive with people from different marginalized communities. This, in fact, is part of the IU campus.
It is, yes.
Since we're talking about IU, I'm just curious what you think about some of the new stuff that's rolling out with IU lately.
Well,
in regards to education, higher education.
Yes, exactly. I was a little worried, very disappointed to see that, with this whole backlash against diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives, which, as a person who is married to a brown woman who has 2 mixed race kids, I mean, these are things that this is sort of a situation. My wife and I just celebrated our 20th anniversary.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Just a couple weeks ago. And she is Indian by birth.
Okay.
So she and I have been a multiracial couple for 20 years. And to hear that things like DEI are being rolled back, to hear that things like affirmative action are under attack and being rolled back, to hear that, like in the state of Indiana, they just recently had a big debate about how many ABA hours should be allowed under funding and stuff like that. And they've rolled that back. ABA services for little kids who are nonverbal or on the spectrum in any way, all these disability resources, educational resources. I mean, now IU just, I think with, by sort of saying, giving into governmental pressure.
Bending a knee.
Bending a knee, exactly. They are eliminating dozens and dozens and dozens of, and I've seen the list of programs, of major programs they're eliminating, and then a disproportionate number of them come from the liberal arts and sciences, which is where, and I've been seeing this for years. I mean, if you go back, I mean, I found myself in the autism field almost kind of by accident. It turns out that, the experience I have with my son, but also in my previous jobs in the K through 12 public education sphere, I got to work with a lot of students who just happened to be neurodiverse. But really, I've been in the education sphere for years, and I've come to understand that having a liberal arts education is actually, I used to be a Latin teacher.
Oh, really?
Talk about a liberal arts education. I mean, but with that kind of perspective, looking back at 2,000 years of Western education, liberal arts is the original education. I remember I used to show my students years ago. I found a PDF online. It's actually a photo. I had it up in my classroom for years, and they were just blown away by it. I taught high schoolers, and I taught them at a school where they were required to take Latin too, because it was part of. That school believed it was part of the building blocks of a good liberal arts education, a well-rounded education. And I found a photo of the Harvard University entrance exam from 1869, I think it was, and it was 2 pages long. The first page was algebra and geometry questions. The second page was all Greek and Latin questions. And I had to explain to them 150 years ago, that was education.
Yeah.
Math, science, ancient languages, and culture, because that's where all of our knowledge comes from in Western civilization, from those ancient writings. And it, got picked up again in the Middle Ages into the Renaissance, and we've kind of progressed from there. So I've come to have a real solid appreciation for a lot of those liberal arts programs that IU is cutting because they're losing funding for them. So, I mean, think about the kind of things we're talking about, like African American studies. I did not see classics on there like Greek and Latin and stuff, which was kind of impressive for me, because I figured that'd be the first thing they'd cut, because who needs that anymore? What I've noticed with a lot of schools, and this is also in my previous job when I was a college and career counselor for 5 years, the message we're sending to our kids these days is, number one, college is necessary for everyone. That's a lie. There are plenty of great vocational and training programs where students can make a ton of money right out the gate after maybe a year of training, 2 years of training. Don't even have to get a 4-year degree anymore. I'm a big champion of Ivy Tech. I think they're doing wonderful work, getting high-paying quality jobs for a huge number of Indiana residents. But what I've seen is the focus for students, for families, and then, for apparently universities as well. And even besides this whole, attack on DEI initiatives and stuff like that, we're losing sight, this is my feeling, we're losing sight as a country of what it means to be a well-rounded person. And so many students that I've counseled and students that I see here, there's a reason why the Kelley School of Business is a huge school. There's a reason why the medical school is huge. There's a reason why the law school is big, because there are specific high-paying jobs, the Luddy School, like IT and stuff like that. There are certain high-paying jobs that a lot of people are going for, and they're doing it at the expense of learning about anything besides those things. I just read an article recently from The Atlantic, I think it was.
Oh, I love The Atlantic.
Yes, and it says the headline was some really jarring thing, and I'm paraphrasing, something like, meet the high ability college students who don't know how to read. Something like that it was. And it was all about that we haven't taught our kids how to read critically, how to think critically. We haven't taught our kids how to do anything but think about, I have to go to school and pass, I have to go to college and get a degree so I can get a job and make money, and that's how happiness happens. So, when you're looking at IU, and besides just the DEI initiatives, and, we all know, I imagine the people who listen to your podcast probably understand the writing in between the lines on that whole thing, that it's not really about DEI, it's more about just sticking it to people who are trying to make a difference and who are trying to speak out and understand that these are the sort of things that give people equal chances. Systemic racism and bigotry is a problem in this country, and shutting our eyes to it like we've done for decades isn't helping anybody. But even beyond that, it's a movement in this country towards how to make the most money as quickly as possible and effectively as possible, and not how can I become an informed person. So, I used to talk to my students at my last job, and I was a Latin teacher, all the time about civics and engagement. And that was the entire we talk about Romans, the ancient Romans and stuff, and obviously only about 10% of that culture was literate. And it was men, and it was wealthy men, and they're the ones who went to school. And why did they go to school? The entire job of education in the Roman world was to create politicians and statesmen, people who would be knowledgeable enough to run the empire, right? So we're not sending our best and brightest to Washington anymore.
Well,
we're not training when our kids are graduating high school, they're looking for jobs that pay a lot and jobs that serve other people. When I say that, I mean they serve companies, they serve the dollar, things like that. They're not looking into things like public health, social work, treatment, clinical services, licensed therapists, all that kind of stuff. I'm happy to say that here in Bloomington, we are seeing a big uptick in those programs. Like I will say, the 2 social work interns we had this past year at CIP were exceptional young men, and they were wonderful. And I will say, I don't know that they've gotten the well-rounded education that I hope they would, but they have learned, at least they have learned compassion in that that program they're in, which I have to give some props to IU for that, because IU School of Social Work has taught these students how to really listen to their clients and how to feel for them and how to be compassionate. And that's kind of my point with all this, is that when we are raising educated, thoughtful, critical thinkers, the problem that this country has specifically is that it all comes down to the fact that our education system is broken. We're not teaching people how to be respectful humans anymore.
Yeah.
That and this whole need to be on screens and the brain rot that is out there on the internet that our kids are all staring at all day long. I mean, we see it here with our students. They're 19, 20 years old, and they're still addicted to this stuff. And there's garbage online that makes no sense, that's completely false, that they're just like, did you know this, and this is a thing? I'm like, no, it's actually really not. So we even talk to our students about bias. We talk to our students about, it's one of our life skills things we talk to our students about. And a social skills thing is not believing what you read all the time. What is a proper news source when you're getting your information about the world? Where should you go to get it? A lot of times, the internet is not the best place. And if it is, which places on the internet should you be getting it? So we talk a lot about like National Public Radio. We talk about unbiased opinions, what news outlets are trying to keep those things straight without all the garbage built in between and all that. So I guess that was a really long way of me saying, I wish that IU would have made some better choices and not, I wish they'd have followed Harvard's model a little bit closer, where Harvard's just sort of like, oh, you want us to do all this? Nah, we're not gonna.
Well, a couple things. I was a language major.
Yeah.
So I did, technically my degree was languages, literatures, and linguistics.
Okay, all the L's.
All the L's. Concentration in French and, French translation. And then I got a certificate in teaching English as a second language.
Beautiful. That's cool.
Spent a ton of time in Root Hall. And so a lot of these programs on the chopping block are languages.
Yes.
A lot of people don't see the necessity in learning languages. I do. I've traveled all over the world. Just to make an effort with other people to show that you have some humanity. Being able to speak another language, being able to integrate into another culture to understand how that works, which, you would know a little bit about that. It's important. And if we are building leaders, those things are important. I think the humanities actually holds us together.
Yes.
An example of educators from the past that I learned about, which, the internet is full of information and can be really good information.
Could be great information. Yes.
It's too bad that we don't focus more on some female leaders from the past, like Aphasia, for example. Most people, if you say, well, do you know who Aphasia is? They're like, who's that? I'm like, wow, you need to open a history book then. Yeah. Because this woman basically taught most of the scholars from, ancient Rome. And so you have people like that from the past, that it's important to talk about all of the things. History is important, the humanities are important, languages are important. Also, within the autistic community, because, you were speaking about that, I think that being from that community myself, if it wasn't for the humanities, if it wasn't for theater and music and art, I would have never survived high school. I probably never would have survived college. Like, these were literally the programs and the classes that held me together through high school and college, university, foreign universities. I was always integrating language, arts, music somewhere at every point, and really probably from elementary school. Yeah. Like, I just right away, like you're talking about your people, like my people were definitely the music people. Yeah. And I was an athlete. I did all those things. I mean, I was basically a perfectionist. And found out that, because I just got diagnosed not too long ago, really. After I found out that my 3 children are autistic, then I started seeing a lot of similarities in them. And I'm like, I wonder. Yep. And so I went ahead and did it after I found out that, the genetic testing said that I gave it to 2 of my kids. So I'm like, right, that's my indication to go ahead and go forward and find out, do better, be an example, be a mentor. So I would just dove headfirst into all these things. My point in saying all of that is this podcast, my nonprofits, all that stuff. I probably wouldn't have started any of it if I wasn't autistic.
Yeah.
because I think the empathy portion of things and being in the neurodiverse community kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
So I'm not shocked at all by all the things that you're saying.
No.
And you're just disproving a lot of theories that are being built right now about the limitations of autistic people.
Yes. Boy, I hate that.
Yeah.
I really, really do.
It's very disconcerting.
I feel like my general feeling, I think, is what a lot of people feel about our country, which is I felt like we were 10, 15 years ago finally starting to shake off some of the dark ages.
Right.
We're starting to realize some hard truths about our history, that our history is not as pretty and cute as the history books think it is.
Sure.
But that's okay. It's okay that it's been bad as long as we can look at that and learn lessons. And I was really starting to get encouraged when we started doing things like more DEI initiatives.
Sure.
And, talking about how, like you were talking about women in antiquity. There were women who did things in the ancient world. We don't know anything about them because no one wrote about them, because history was written by those who were in power. So women, coming out of the background and, saying, hey, look at all the stuff that we're able to provide and to contribute. Disabled people, we're saying there's, what's the difference between an autistic person and a non-autistic person? The real difference, for me at least, the way I think of it isn't that our brains are wired differently, which is what a lot of people will say. That's the, psychological idea. The difference is there's the social, the real difference between being neurodiverse, especially with autism, and neurotypical is that the rules are just made for you easier. If you're neurotypical, as a society, we've decided that here are the rules for socialization. And if you don't fit that, like when I was younger, we used to have, let's say, and I'm gonna date myself now. So I was I remember this predominantly in middle school, and I'm sure it happened in elementary too, but I was in middle school. I graduated from 8th grade in the spring of 92.
Okay.
So it's been a bit. But I remember this is the very early 90s, like 90, 91, 92, when I was in middle school. And I remember that there was a class, and it was called the Behavior Disorder Classroom. And it was located right next to the principal's office, so that in case anyone was being bad, he could step in very quickly. I remember I had some friends in high school whose mom was a teacher in one of these classrooms too, and literally her whole job was just make sure that nobody breaks anything or hurts anybody. There was one time they told me that she got called down to the office to answer a question or something like that, and when she came back, someone had set the drapes on fire. That kind of thing. And this room was full of kids who were deemed to be unfit for a regular classroom. And most of these kids, looking back now, were ADHD students, ASD students, learning differences. There was these were just they didn't have behavior issues. It's just that the way that they acted wasn't exactly in line with what we wanted them to do. So these are the kids who would have the classroom right next to the principal's office. They were virtually denied an education. They were there because they had to be there, and whatever they learned through osmosis or whatever it was there in the classroom, great. Otherwise, they just kind of shoved them on through and passed them along because they knew these kids were never going to do well in school. That was just the assumption. And I remember these were the kids who they weren't even allowed to mix with the general population of the school. I remember it was really crazy when one of them got to be in our 8th grade art class. Like he earned the right to be there because he had been doing well. He was just hyper. I remember because he was a student in 4th grade. He was in my class, 6th grade, 8th grade, several times. And he had ADHD. That's all it was. This is before Ritalin and stuff like that. So he couldn't focus. He'd run around and stuff like that. And these kids would come to school 10 minutes after the bell rang, so they wouldn't be in the school lines or with the other students. They would be dismissed 10 minutes before the bell rang, so they wouldn't be out there with the other students because they were worried that they would, provoke them or something like that. It's amazing. It was like running a small prison inside of a school. And the fact that we've gone from that 30 years later to inclusive instruction, push-in teaching, aides in the classroom working with a student, trying to help them where they're at, working with the teachers, all those things. I've seen some really dedicated educators over the years do amazing things in the classroom to help students with disabilities remain on track with their neurotypical counterparts. And the fact that we're going to start pulling those things back, we're going to start limiting the amount of service and therapy time they can get. We're going to start taking away more opportunities those students have to get into more exclusive colleges, to show what they're made of in the post-secondary world, that we're going to relegate these students back to being nuisances and disorders and behavior problems. And we're just trying to go back 30 years, 40 years so we can put people back where they used to be. Because what people don't understand is, or what these people who are trying to make these laws, it seems like, do not understand, is that human existence is messy. And we can't just say, well, all of these people are burdens and they are dragging down their families, so let's put them all on a list so we know who they are. And you know what I'm talking about. The autism registry, is that where you were going with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I go all over the place. I've got a couple notes today. I don't always have notes, but these couple things I thought might be important. So I read an article recently that said that we already have 8 states in the U.S. that have registries. So I was like, right, let me just find out. So the 8 U.S. states that have mandatory autism registries: Delaware, Indiana, New Hampshire, New Jersey, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Utah, and West Virginia. And just Google it. I mean, it came up on, according to Building Blocks Therapy and Newsweek. Those are two articles that just, if you can put anything that you're thinking of, ask ChatGPT or whatever, it's going to pop something up. It's going to offer a citation. All you have to do is click the link and then go to the article. You can read for yourself. Yeah. So that's a couple things from the list.
Yep. And now there's this whole conversation about national registries. Which sounds real sketchy to me. That's some slippery slope stuff right there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that some of those states,
I was a little surprised too.
Yeah, some of those states you don't think of, like Delaware or New Hampshire, as being places that would fit those bills and stuff like that. But and I don't know if that is some sort of a clinical consideration or what that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's definitely worth having the conversation because I'm sure different places have their reasons, and that's fine. We'll talk about it. There might be like a good, valid reason. Maybe part of it is funding, and that the intent was not to do harm. Right. But some of these other things that are happening right now, I think the intent is to do harm in some fashion.
And being that I live in Indiana and my kid lives in Indiana, and his name apparently is on a list somewhere of people who are being, and I'm sure that's probably, once he was diagnosed in second grade, that whole thing goes into the system and they lift that stuff off of his IEP records and all that kind of stuff. And, but I don't like the idea of someone at the national level weaponizing that and saying, hey, we can use this to identify all sorts of things, including the people who are burdens to their families or the ones who've been messed up by vaccines or whatever this garbage conspiracy theories are.
Yeah, there's a real push right now. I don't want to say push, withdrawal. A lot of people that were in line that have waited a long time to have autism testing, they're backing out. They're backing out of their kids, their selves, even the ones that have to pay. Like Indiana doesn't provide testing that's covered by most different types of insurance. Like you have to pay out of pocket for it. So like I paid out of pocket for my adult testing.
It's expensive.
It can be expensive. Other states offer it within their health packages, which I think is better. But just because there might be this is what I'm afraid of. There's going to be reduced accuracy, just like there was in the past, because people are afraid. It doesn't mean that autism is going down. Just like in the past, the reason that now the autism numbers are going up is because, medicine is improving, like societies are changing, we're being more inclusive. They were always here. And there's a large section of it that's genetics. Like even in my own family, it's funny how that happens with coming out. Like, because I'm also part of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm an older one. So like whenever I was coming out, it was like lesbian, gay, bisexual, drag kings, drag queens. Yeah. So I'm also rapidly learning because I want to know, like I want to understand. And there were all these people that came before me that were active, that made it safer for me. Yeah. Still wasn't safe, still got beat up, still got spit on, all that stuff. That's horrible. So I can't even imagine what like the African American and the Hispanic communities are going through right now. I mean, don't even get me started on ICE and all that nonsense. It's like severely un-American. But just for the autism faction of things, I like to read and I like to research and I'm interested in history. And for anyone that's interested, if you're a little disturbed by the language and things that you see, there's a difference between someone telling you something or making excuses for someone and validating what they think or what they think they meant by saying something or whatever, and seeing with your own eyes. So for example, alligator Alcatraz. Oh. That's just one thing that I see and I can see with my eyeballs. And where my brain goes when I see that stuff is Nazi Germany, Auschwitz.
I mean, the pictures of it. Just like a concentration camp, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me personally, I may see the world differently. The way that I categorize things as I see them and the way that I make connections with things may be different than my neurotypical comrades. Yeah. I think it gives me an edge, personally, because the way that I can process through information based upon my knowledge of history, cross-referencing things in my mind of what I know about, I can see things in a certain light. I don't think that everybody has to agree with me, but I do think when you see things is a little different than when you suspect or when you hear. So what makes me really nervous for my kids right now is because I like history and because I read. There was a little boy named Gerard Kretzmar, and I might be slightly mispronouncing it. So, if I did, feel free to correct me. This little boy's parents were avid supporters of the Nazi regime. So he was born severely disabled. I can't remember the exact details of his disability, but his parents really bought into some of the things that were happening in Germany at that time. They wrote a letter to the Fuhrer, to Adolf Hitler. And they essentially said, we want you to do something about this because we basically feel like this was an error. Yeah. That's about the nicest way I can put it. Yeah. You guys can read for yourselves. Go Google it. I'll attach the links in the comment section. But this was all that Hitler needed to hear because he was waiting for something like this. And that little boy's death was the start of the children's euthanasia program in Germany. So if you sit on that for a second and let that simmer. I've got 3 little kids that have autism. I've got autism. I'm watching what's happening to the trans community, the Hispanic community, anybody that's brown, the increase in police presence with like faces being covered, badges not being present, names not being present. All of that stuff screams danger to me. And for my little kids right now, especially the one that's nonverbal, that can't speak, like all the alarm bells are going off for me. And so I think it's at least worth having a conversation. We should, all of us, be sitting down and having conversations. I guarantee you, every single household knows someone, whether it's a neighbor, a friend, a cousin, a sister, brother, uncle, whatever, that's like part of the LGBTQ plus community or has autism or has a disability. Now, disabilities can also mean things like, maybe you're a veteran and you got hit by an IED and now you're an amputee.
Yeah.
And, maybe they did provide you a prosthetic, but you're now disabled because you couldn't do the things that you did before. So we have patriots that went and served our country that now have prosthesis that are disabled. Yeah. That if someone got like certain ideas in their head after experimenting on the Hispanic community, we already have this stuff in history. You can read it, like you can research it. It's not a far jump. So if this stuff is not making you uncomfortable on some level, you really need to go and read. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you what to think, but I am here to at least prod you to do some of your own independent research. We are at a pivotal point in American history. We do not have the luxury to remain silent. Programs are disappearing every day. We hope that this podcast raises awareness and sparks a sense of advocacy in you. We all can make a difference. The important thing is to start. See you next time.